Can we talk? Can we really talk? I mean, seriously. This topic's been on my mind on and off for the last 30 or more years. And the topic is Microsoft support or the lack thereof. And to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure there's a lack of Microsoft support. It's just a matter of it's hard to get in contact with them, I guess. And when you do get in contact with them, they give you the runaround. I think it would be easier to find the email address of a bookie than it would be to find an email address where you can get support from Microsoft. Now, I might be exaggerating. Maybe I've just had bad luck all of this time. And maybe I should just go to a support group, not a Microsoft support group, a support group of people who have tried to go to Microsoft for help and weren't able to get it. If you're stranded on a deserted island, don't try to call up Microsoft to get help. You know what I'm saying? If the only number you have is Microsoft support and you're on a deserted island, don't call it. It's like a unicorn. It doesn't exist. I remember the first time that I called Microsoft support. It was back probably in the mid-90s. And there was a problem installing Excel. And I was getting this error. And back then, the errors were really super cryptic. They would have things like the general fault error followed by a hexadecimal number. This was totally useless to pretty much anybody except maybe a programmer for Microsoft. So, at any rate, I call them up and I get this runaround. And the only good thing about at the time at least, the only good thing about calling up help for Microsoft was that they were playing Bob Dylan, and I just thought that was pretty cool. They were trying to be like, I guess, neo-hippies or something. And yeah, really, but you don't really want to, even if you like Bob Dylan, you don't really want to be sitting there listening to him sing for an hour, probably, while you're waiting for help. So I call them up, and they give me this runaround, and I can't remember, it's been so long, the exact runaround. But I do remember at one point the guy goes, yeah, I can help you with that. If you have a credit card and $150 an hour for me to give you help for a program that you don't even own because it's a company program. They have the license to it. They paid for it. But, yeah, we really don't give you support for it. So be it all, albeit that it was 30 years ago, so that they've changed a little bit. I don't even think you can call them now. I really don't. A lot of tech companies, you can't, there's no phone number for them. You can find me the phone number for Adobe support. All right? It doesn't exist as far as I can tell. But now the trend is, you know what? Let's not even give out any email addresses. So you can't even email these people. I'm trying to get Microsoft support, and it says, "Oh, sorry, you don't have access to support." What's up with that? Another time, they changed all of the serial numbers or the license numbers for Windows because they were having bootlegging problems. Like, who the hell is bootlegging Microsoft Windows? Like, why would you do that? Why would you steal something that you can't even get support for and doesn't work half the time, and that they mess up constantly? There's no reason to do that. But anyway, back in the day, I guess they bootlegged that a lot. Now you can go and you get Linux for free, and it runs much better than Microsoft Windows. So why would you even steal a crappy product? right? Why would you steal something that gives you constant anxiety, constant problems? There's no reason to do that. But I digress. Maybe that's a topic for another video. At any rate, they changed the code number, the license number for Microsoft Windows. So I'm reinstalling Windows on all of these machines that had a legitimate license of them. And I'm entering the license. I enter the license, and it goes, "Yeah, this isn't a valid license. You call this number." I'm like, "Oh, well, they got a phone number here, finally." I call up the phone number. Now, this is years ago. So, this isn't a recent thing. This is the history of how crappy their support is, the lack of it. So, I call up this number, and it's a robot, right? It's a bot of some sort. And this is back before, this is probably 20 years ago. See, we've moved from about 30 years ago to 20 years ago. About 20 years ago. And, the AI wasn't as good then on telephones. And even the voice recognition on it had problems. So they said, "Oh, read out your serial number." So I read it out, and these serial numbers, or the license number, is a really long number, and it has like 6 digits, and it has 6 sets of 6 digits. So in their numbers and their letters, and I read out the first set, and it goes, "Oh, excuse me, I couldn't hear that. Can you repeat it?" Or I didn't get it. So I have to repeat it a couple of times. We move on to the next 6, and I have to repeat it a couple of times. So it takes me like 20 minutes to give this damn machine the license number, which is legitimate, that was paid for with the machine, right? A legitimate license number. And if this is just one machine, I have to reload 20 machines. It just happens. So I'm going to have to get it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to go do this to every machine to get a new license. Gets to the end, and it says, "Sorry, that's not a valid number." And it hangs up. It just hangs up on me. The machine hangs up. Now, I would have called it up and given it a piece of my mind at the time, but even I realized that, hey, it can't even understand a license number I'm trying to give it. So, if it takes me 20 minutes to get the license number out for the piece of software for this so-called AI at the time, then, there's no sense in me trying to reason with it, right? Or to even complain to it. And there's no one I can call, right? Even if I found a phone number, do you think people really answer the phones there? I don't think so. So I go through this, and I actually somehow find at the time a number I can call for Microsoft. And I go through all of this stuff. And it goes, "Oh, this is an OEM version of Microsoft Windows." And I go, yeah, that's right. And they go, "Oh, well, you need to call the computer manufacturer for that." And so, to make a long story short, then I have to go through this computer manufacturer's helpline. And they're switching me around all over the world to different help desks. And I keep getting cut off. And then I have to start over with another rep. And finally, I just say, you know what? I'm going to go home. I've spent all day on this. Long story short, as I found out, they had a default license number at the time. I think this was for Windows XP or something. They had a default license key that they gave everybody because they changed their systems and they changed the license keys. I guess because what happens is if a license key is given out or it gets stolen, they'll revoke a license key sometimes. Well, this was like a thing where they did it with everyone, and I think they were just updating their system or whatever. Here's the thing. The code number was actually on a web page, which made no sense to me. It's like, so instead of mailing people or emailing them or giving them a number that you can call, or you would just say, hey, there's a new number here. You put it up on a web page. How does this stop the software from being pirated? Is what I didn't understand at the time. Still don't understand it, and really don't have the time to figure out what their logic was behind that. Well, I guess at this point, I've ranted enough about Microsoft. So we got up to 20 years ago, but it's no better now, really. And this is a problem with a lot of bigger tech companies. If you have a smaller software company, they're like Hertz Rent-A-Car used to be. The motto for them used to be, we're second, so we try harder. Well, you can actually email these software companies. You have a problem at night, you can email them, go to bed, and sometimes there's an email waiting for you in the morning with the solution or some questions that they ask to help you fix the problem. With Microsoft, try that. You're going to get an email back by morning that says, this email address no longer works. And the same has happened with other companies, including Dell, where Dell used to be really good about having a support email, and they got rid of it one day. So it started with they got rid of all the phones, and would go all by email or forms. And now you can't even email anybody at these companies. The bigger ones, the smaller ones you can. So it's a big deal, and I would say, trying to call Microsoft support, or calling Microsoft support is like not calling anyone at all. But that's not true, because you can't even call Microsoft support, really. At any rate, that's my gripe, and I'm sticking with it. And hopefully one day I'll be able to email Microsoft if I have a problem. But I'm not counting on it.